The Batman was directed by Matt Reeves and stars Robert Pattinson, Andy Serkis, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, and Colin Farrell, and follows Bruce Wayne in his second year as the Caped Crusader Batman as he is investigating the murders of a mysterious figure known as the Riddler, who is leaving these clues behind to kind of lead Batman down a rabbit trail. And so Batman investigates this and begins to learn about the corruption within the city and some things about his own family. Guys, I'm excited to finally talk about the Batman on this channel. This has been one of my most anticipated movies for the past couple of years. This film has gone through a lot of development hell. It first started out as a Ben Affleck Batman solo film that was connected to the DCEU. However, when that fell through, and a lot of the DCEU fell through, then Matt Reeves was brought on board, and we weren't sure if it was going to be connected, if Ben Affleck was going to come back, but eventually we learned that it was going to be a completely new Batman set in its own universe with Robert Pattinson playing the Caped Crusader, and I could not have been more excited. Robert Pattinson has proved in the past couple of years with movies such as Good Time and most recently The Lighthouse that he is one of the best young actors working today, and I was excited to see what he could bring to the table, but what this entire creative team could bring. And based off of the trailers, I was really, really excited, and when I finally sat down and watched the film, this is the Batman movie I have been looking for my entire life. Now, I am a huge fan of many of the Batman iterations that have come before. Batman Returns, I think, is a great film. I also love the Nolan trilogy to death. The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises are two of my favorite films of all time. But I think this is the one that gets the Batman right. I want to start off by talking about the atmosphere of this film. I love how Gotham City looks in this film. This is the best looking Gotham City that we have had since Batman Begins. I love how it just oozes this Gothic architecture and this really dark, decrepit look. It is a character in of itself, and it's very well done. It's like a mix between Batman Begins' Gotham as well as Tim Burton's Gotham, and it blends together so well by making this world just feel so different from what we have come to know. Even though it is a realistic world, it still feels like you are placed in a comic book world nonetheless. And I had to talk about the performances as well. There was not a performance in this film that I think was phoned in or lacking. Everybody did an excellent job. From Robert Pattinson, he might be the best Batman that we've ever had. In terms of just how he plays this version, this is a very broken Batman and a very complex psychologically Batman. And I think he does such a good job of being this recluse of a man when he is Bruce Wayne, and then just being this violent and angry Batman when he is in the suit. And I really, really enjoyed that. I think Robert Pattinson really sold that idea. This is a lonely, sad Batman that is really well done. But I think a lot of the other supporting characters are fantastic. Zoe Kravitz, in particular. This is the best Catwoman I think we have ever seen put to screen. She is wonderful. She is basically the year one Catwoman brought to life, and she's fantastic. I love this character, how complex it is, and how it ties into the comics a little bit, too, in some ways that we haven't seen before, and I just loved it. I also loved the villains. The villains in this film are so wonderful. Paul Dano is a terrifying Riddler based off of the Zodiac Killer, which was a really smart move. He is cunning, terrifying, and just scary. Every single scene he is in, I am afraid of this guy. And Paul Dano is not that intimidating of a guy, but once you put that mask on him and once he says the lines that he says, this guy is messed up. And it was wonderful. Also, Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell is my favorite actor of all time. And I love how he just completely disappeared into the role of the Penguin. Not only does he look the part, but he sounds like a mix between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. In fact, he looks a little bit like Robert De Niro, and he just gets lost in this role. He is a little bit over the top. He really goes there in some places, but it really works for his character, and he takes part in the best action scene of the entire film, which is this chase with the Batmobile that it was so glorious watching it. The cinematography in that scene in particular was wonderful. I also really love John Turturro as Carmine Falcone in this. He is sleazy, terrifying, and without saying literally anything, he just oozes this fearful presence in the film that I just absolutely love. Also, supporting characters such as Alfred, played by Andy Serkis, as well as Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, are fantastic. I think this one really gets the relationship between Batman and Gordon perfectly. I love how they team up in this film. And I particularly like how they teamed up in the Dark Knight films. However, I think here it is even more so because we get so much more time with the Batman. It's not as iconic as something like Gary Oldman, but it is perfect for this film, and I think it worked so well. I love their relationship in particular, and I love the fact that there is so much Batman in this movie. Like, Bruce Wayne is in the movie, but you really get less of him than you get Batman. It's kind of reminding me of the animated series where, it was mostly Batman walking around investigating because that's what you want to see. And I really liked that. And I think they balanced it well as, seeing Bruce Wayne versus Batman, and it worked incredibly well. Also, the cinematography in this film is absolutely beautiful. This is the best looking Batman film that we've had since really the Tim Burton films, which had a particular style to them that really worked. But here, with the set design, the production, and the cinematography, there are shots in this film that look absolutely beautiful, especially this one that is in the trailer where Batman is wading through a bunch of water. It is beautifully shot with the red look and the red tint, and it's just wonderful to behold. I also love the first reveal of Batman. I love how very early in the film that we kind of get this narration and we kind of get these long shots of like, is Batman there or is he there? And we don't really get an answer, but when he is finally revealed, it is absolutely perfect. I loved it so much. I also really liked the ending of this film, especially when it focused on the theme of the film, and it has one of my favorite endings to a Batman movie, period. I also can't talk about this film without at least mentioning Michael Giacchino's score, and to me, this is maybe the best Batman score that has ever been conceived. I love Danny Elfman's score in Batman and Batman Returns. It is iconic. Some of it will never be topped, but I think for a modern portrayal of the Batman, this really captures kind of the animated series feel while also being darker and grimmer, and that was something I liked in this film, that it felt like a live-action, darker version of the animated series, which is one of my favorite portrayals of the Caped Crusader, and I think it worked so well. Guys, there's a ton of other things that I love about this movie, but I cannot get into it without talking about spoilers, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm probably going to leave it off here. Just know that I absolutely adored this film from beginning to end. There was very little in terms of problems I had with the film. I loved its runtime. It just breezed by. I loved the acting and performances. I wish there was a little bit more Alfred. There wasn't really a lot of him, especially near the end of the film, but everything was set up so well. Everything was just so well conceived that it made for a Batman experience that I am not going to forget. Now, in terms of, is this my favorite Batman movie? Not necessarily. To me, The Dark Knight is the best movie. The Dark Knight Rises is my personal favorite, but The Batman, in my opinion, is the best full-on Batman film. It has the most Batman in it. It really focuses on the character in a way that we have never seen before, and it just left me incredibly satisfied and excited for where this series will go on now. I'm excited for the sequels that will come out. I'm excited for the different shows that are planned, and this is a Batman universe that I am ready to get invested in. This was really something special, and I cannot wait to see more. So anyway, guys, with all that said, I'm going to give The Batman an 8 out of 10. Well, guys, I want to thank you for watching this review. Have you seen The Batman? If you have, tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.